Hello, friends, and welcome to Friends in Fiction, four New York Times bestselling authors, endless stories. I'm Kristy Woodson Harvey.
And I'm Kristin Harmel. On behalf of all four authors of Friends in Fiction, including Mary Kay Andrews and Patti Callahan Henry, Kristy and I are excited to welcome you to a special episode of Friends in Fiction Behind the Book, a quick, deep dive into the life and work of one of our favorite authors.
Today, we are so happy to welcome our friend Jeffrey Blount, the award-winning author of four novels, including The Emancipation of Evan Walls, the winner of the 2020 National Indie Excellence Award for African American Fiction.
Jeffrey is also an Emmy Award winning television director and a 2016 inductee to the Virginia Communications Hall of Fame. During a 34-year career at NBC News, Jeffrey directed a decade of Meet the Press, The Today Show, NBC Nightly News, and major special events. We are so glad to have him with us today. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Oh, thank you both for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
After reading Jeffrey's bio, the fact that I messed up on the first line is making
it's all good.
Meet the Press, The Today Show, Kristy and Kristin. I mean, it's from their offices. It's the same. It's not a problem. Well, Jeffrey, your latest novel, Mr. Jimmy from Around the Way, is a story of failure, thank goodness, self-discovery, empowerment, and the possibility of redemption, set in the backdrop of rural Mississippi. So can you tell us a bit about it and what brought you to this story?
Mr. Jimmy is an African-American billionaire. And unlike most billionaires we see today, particularly in the press, they're not liked too much. But Mr. Jimmy is quite the philanthropist. And so he is admired and he's loved and cared for. He has a wonderful family. He's had a beautiful marriage. And then he makes a poor choice. And he fractures his life. He suffers a severe fall from grace. And like many of us, when we do something bad, even when we were kids, what do? We run to our room, close the door, and hide under the covers because that's where we feel safe. We go home, right? Yeah. So he was born in the rural South, and so he decides to run to the rural South to hide and try to figure out how he can redeem himself. Buys this house sight unseen, and it ends up adjacent to a neighborhood mired in total abject poverty. And he doesn't want to have anything to do with this, but he's brought into it. And he's beginning to feel comfortable and making some friends. And then there is a huge, painful discovery that rocks the community. And it then becomes Mr. Jimmy's job, while he's trying to find his own redemption, to empower his neighbors so that they don't collapse as well. And the question is, where does he find his redemption? And also, what does it mean for us to be a part of a village to help out our fellow human being? That's where the story comes from. The story comes from my father talking to me during COVID. My mom had dementia. She was in a facility. He was home alone. We spent a lot of time talking, and he was reflecting about an incident when I was a little boy in second grade, where I was tapped by a teacher to help a kid who was much older, who hadn't ever been to school, who'd been put in that class. I was tasked to help work with him as he learned to read. Wow. Years later, my parents told me that they asked for me to be put in that position because they wanted me to begin to accept the fact that I was here also for myself, but also to help my fellow human being. And I refer to that as the activism of kindness. And that's how we get to Mr. Jimmy from Around the Way.
Oh, I love that. What a great origin story for this book.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So you've kind of touched on some of the themes that run through this. Can you talk to us a little bit about whether you started off writing this book with those themes in mind, or did they really rise to the surface once you get to know the characters and know the story?
I would say that I started writing them with the themes in mind. I would say that some themes got more intense than the other. Some issues I felt like as the book moved along, I needed to pay more attention to than I thought at the beginning. I carried around a lot of these issues over the time when I worked in the news business. And you have these light bulb moments, and I had multiple light bulb moments from Mr. Jimmy when these things kept falling in line. The things that I wanted to deal with. I had this idea of the forgiveness or the kindness, And then just things, I kept having these light bulb moments that added up to the characters and added up to how the book would go.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm always really interested in as a writer is when you sit down, when you come up with this idea for this story, and you kind of have Mr. Jimmy in your head, are you sitting down and thinking, this is just the story that I need to tell, this is the thing that Jeffrey needs to say or heal or think about, or are you thinking about your reader and your audience? So I guess, do you write with the door open or the door closed, so to speak?
Good question. And I'm writing for my mission, and hopefully I write well enough that people will be drawn to it and be affected by it. But my goal is never been, and I don't say this in a negative way, because this is just me. It was never intended to be commercial. It was intended to be motivational. And that's why I write, and every book that I write has that intention. So it's literary activism, I guess you would call it. There's activism of kindness that starts with the literary activism.
That's
great.
Right, so who do you think would most enjoy this book?
Sorry, go ahead.
We have an earbud malfunction that happens. Who do you think
I lost you.
Can you hear me?
No. Hear us now?
Can you hear us?
I think it's me. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I got it back. Can you edit?
No, but this is very in line with everything else we've recorded today.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm hearing music. And I don't know where the music's coming from.
Oh no!
I don't have anything else open on my
Can
computer.
you hear us also?
I can, but the music was so much louder. It's like a jingle. It comes in and goes away.
That's so weird.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try again. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Great. I just wanted to know who you think would most enjoy this book.
Well, my hope is that everyone will enjoy it. My hope is that, I've been asked, what's the audience for the book? And I just say, I'm writing for the general public. So it's a story about a Black man who is going into a Black community, but it's about the village. And in fact, there is a very important white female character. Olivia Faye Carroll is her name. I love my character names. So cute. And Olivia is a real estate agent, and she becomes his partner in helping to bring this community back. And so by picking the kinds of characters that I have and creating those characters, I was hoping to draw any number of audiences in. So because the village it should be all of us. And the village should not be limited by what we look like or what our religion is or any of that. It's when you see a moment where someone runs into a building because they know people are in there and it's a fire and the fire truck hasn't gotten there. They don't know anything. All they hear is people screaming. They don't know what religion that person is, what race they are, what their gender is. They just know in that moment that there is a human life at risk. And that's what I want to bottle. That's what I want people to take away from the book, that this is about our humanity. If we can see that first, if we can get past so many other things, we can help each other, and we won't even want to allow each other to live in the kind of poverty that I talk about in this book. It is a shame in the United States of America that Doctors Without Borders is operating here. When I was a kid, I used to see on television, the kids in developing nations, and they would say, give $5 and feed a family. My wife and I just saw one of those ads for the United States of America.
Wow.
This is why I'm writing this book. And this is what I hope this book will bring to the table, is that, we should be here for each other. We can all succeed individually, but we still need to be here for each other.
And think how much in the world would change if we could all view each other that way. If we could all, take away those prejudices and the things we identify each other by and just identify each other as human. I think it would just make such a beautiful difference for all of us with so many things going on in the world right now. This sounds so inspiring. I'm so excited to be able to share it with our viewers out there. Jeffrey, can you tell us where readers can find out more about Mr. Jimmy from Around the Way, and also about you and your tour schedule?
Yes, you can go to my website, which is www.jeffreyblount.com, and under the events tab, you can see where I'll be going, and I'll be adding and changing and updating that as I move through it. You can find the book anywhere that you can buy books, and I hope you will, and I hope you will enter some incredible conversations about the feelings that come up from the book. And I've told you, the most important thing for a writer, I think, is when a plan comes together. Yeah. So I told you what I want people to take away from this book. I want them to feel like they want to take care of their fellow human being. Yeah. So I want to read to you an advanced review on Library Thing from a regular reader who said, in addition to rooting for Mr. Jimmy and his neighborhood, you may find the inspiration to help out someone in your own unique way. So I love it as an author when a plan comes together.
That's great. Oh, fantastic.
That's incredible. That's a good feeling. And it's such an important mission and message. And I know that all of our readers and listeners out there are going to be so thrilled that they got to hear from you today and are going to be just running out to pick up their copy of Mr. Jimmy from Around the Way. So thank you for being such a wonderful guest, Jeffrey. We're honored that you chose to spend your time with us, and we're really grateful to be a small part of your tour.
Oh, well, I thank you for having me, and I'm honored to be here, especially with you guys. I followed your careers for quite some time, and I was so lucky. I peeked at Mr. Jimmy on Amazon the other day, and Kristin's new book that's coming out soon was there. It said, if you like Mr. Jimmy, you should read this too. So
that's crazy.
Yes, so I'm feeling a partnership here.
There you go. Exactly.
That's a really good sign. I mean, we're just all meant to be together. I love
That's right.
Well, all of you out there, don't forget to tune in every Wednesday night right here on Facebook or YouTube for brand new, longer form content about books, authors, and the reading and writing worlds. You can find everything about the Friends and Fiction universe, from the live show to the podcast, the newsletter to events, information about how to purchase our guest books, to updates from the Friends and Fiction official book club on our website, friendsandfiction.com. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.